Hello, everybody. Brian Engelman here with the Unhappy Hour at the TNAM Radio Network at TheNewAmericanMedia.com. Welcome back. Good to have you. Good to talk to you. I'm going to be doing some other shows, some other videos, some agree to disagree stuff. Man, if it hasn't been a fun week for politics and current events, I can't wait to dig into some of the wackiness going on there. But for now, it's just going to be sports. And for now, we're going to bring in Zak Baris because we have some breaking news in the NBA. This is something we've kind of had our eye on, our finger on the pulse of for a while. Chris Paul, this is a big domino. This is one of the biggest dominoes in this offseason. Chris Paul is going to be, being traded to the Houston Rockets now. So, Zach, break this down for us. What just happened?
So, Chris Paul basically informed the LA Clippers that he was going to be signing with the Houston Rockets in free agency and didn't want to leave them empty-handed. So considering that, they got a decent haul for him, considering he would have left for nothing. So
Right.
Getting a guy like Patrick Beverley, you got Lou Williams, who's a very good player, did very well last year. At one point was sixth man of the year. I mean, you got a nice haul for him, considering, the Clippers are going to suck. Let's just face it. However, you got a nice haul considering you were going to get nothing. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, well, Lou Williams, everybody seems to love him, but he keeps getting traded.
It's what happens. He's one of those guys.
All right, one of the linchpins for all the trades, I guess. So what is happening to the Clippers now? What does that mean for Blake Griffin? Does that mean he's out too?
I think so. I think you're going to see Blake go somewhere else. I don't think it's going to be Oklahoma City. I tend to see Blake possibly going to Boston. I'm not exactly sure where he winds up at this point.
Blake in Boston, you think?
I'm not guaranteeing Boston. I really don't know where he's going to end up.
Well, let's take a step back for a second. Chris Paul, talk about free agent status, because Paul George, they're talking about him, but he's still under contract. So
I tend to think Paul George, I still have this weird feeling that he's going to wind up in Cleveland.
Okay.
I just get this feeling that once everything's sorted out, he'll be a Cavalier. And it came out today, obviously, that if LeBron stays, Paul George would be willing to stay too. That's the thing. Is the Lakers have a very bleak outlook right now. They don't have very many assets to be able to bring in Paul George, which Paul George is trying to get a top-tier free agent to sign with them. If I'm Klay Thompson, is it something I consider? Yeah, it is. Next offseason, it is something I consider. But at the same point, is Klay Thompson going to be satisfied winning two or three championships? Because obviously the Warriors will be there next year. Well, I don't want to say obviously. Losing Iguodala and losing Sean Livingston could be a big loss, but they're still a great team, and they'll win around 70 games no matter who they have. You can really plug in just about anyone to that team.
Well, but they're saying that Durant is trying to sign for less to keep those guys around, but I don't know if it's going to be enough.
It's still going to be tough.
Right.
You know what? It's still going to be tough to bring. If Iguodala gets $20 million a year, he's got to take it. If Livingston, someone offers him 10 to 12, he's got to take it. Don't forget, Sean Livingston has had a horrible injury. He's never made big money. This is his chance to, and go and be able to retire with a lot of cash in the bank, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's take a look at this for a sec, and we'll go down the list, and we'll say that Paul George ideally would like to wind up in L.A. However, if he's unable to team up with a superstar there, he's not going to go. He wants to win. He's not going alone. That's why he's trying to call Klay Thompson. That's why he's trying to make calls. That's why he's reaching out to other stars. But the problem is if he can't bring anyone in with them, it's going to be a problem. The Lakers need to make significant progress this year. You need to see Lonzo Ball have a big, big year as a rookie, which is going to be very, very tough, especially under the scrutiny and the pressure that he's under with his idiot dad. And just, it's L.A.
Wasn't his dad, he was at a WWE event shirtless the other day? Did you catch that?
Yes, I saw the highlights. I'm not going to go piss my time away watching Lonzo Ball.
Highlights. Okay.
So what happened was, so getting back, you traded D'Angelo Russell, who played really well at the end of last year. You didn't really get anything out of Brandon Ingram last year. Julius Randle's hasn't given you much either. The Lakers' outlook right now is looking bleak. It really is. They don't have a ton of potential right now. You really have to capitalize on Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram. You need them to be great.
But if it's looking bleak, is the flip side of that they don't have a lot of big contracts after moving Mozgov? That's something we didn't even touch on the Mozgov trade. Talk about that for a second. What that did for their cap space and.
So it helped clear cap space because Lopez is going to be a free agent, but you gave up an asset in D'Angelo Russell to do it.
Yeah, you did.
That's my issue with it. Is you gave up a potentially valuable piece, who could be very good, especially could have been very good with Lonzo Ball.
But did he burn his bridges in the locker room, and that's something he could never come back from?
I think he did, and I think he'll get a fresh start in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a great trade for Brooklyn, considering that they have no assets, they don't have really any future picks, and they just acquired the number 2 pick in the draft from a year ago.
Okay. Well, yeah, when you put it that way, that'd be good. And anything that gets them higher than the worst record in the league makes it harder for the Celtics to get that first pick again, which they're going to get again next year, which is just crazy how stocked they are. It's incredible.
Well, I mean, it won't guarantee be the first pick, but Brooklyn will have the
better
worst
chances,
record in the league,
yeah.
so they'll have a guaranteed top 4 pick.
Okay, so back to
but we watched Boston just screwed up taking Jason Tatum at 3.
You didn't like that?
No. They could have had Tatum at 7 or 8. You didn't need to take Tatum at 3. I mean, literally, they should have taken Josh Jackson.
And so what would have changed if they took Josh Jackson?
I think Jackson's a better player. Okay. Ainge has never drafted well, and, he's hoarding assets. I mean, he could very well go and turn him into Paul George and Gordon Hayward. He could.
Does Paul George or Gordon do they have no trade clauses, or could they just be dumped?
No, neither. Gordon Hayward's a free agent. Paul George can get traded wherever.
Okay. So basically, if Boston put together a decent offer, they could get Paul George.
Yeah, but they're still not going to beat Golden State with that roster. That's the thing, and I don't even know if you get past Cleveland.
That's true. Well, now that you have Chris Paul going to the Rockets, what's going to happen with James Harden and Chris Paul? I mean, these guys.
I mean, you might now see Melo, if he gets bought out, go to Houston or Cleveland. I'm not saying it's a guarantee he goes to Houston. I think it's I think he's going to be on one of the teams. I just don't know where yet.
I guess I hope it's Cleveland, right?
I do too.
We would all like that.
I tend to think if Cleveland gets Paul George, they'll wind up with Melo.
Why do you say
it's
that?
It's just a matter of Indiana's not budging right now is the problem.
Yeah. Well, they're thinking that their asset might appreciate, but it's probably just going to do nothing but depreciate over time.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The longer every day he's there, his value goes down.
Because he doesn't want to be there. He's made that clear.
Yeah.
All right, so James Harden, talk about the dynamics of having James Harden and Chris Paul on the same team. How do you think
it's going to be difficult? You're going to have to see James Harden play off the ball, but I mean, I love the combination there. I mean, if it works, they're going to be really, really good. I don't think people realize how great Chris Paul really, really is.
Because he keeps getting injured. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, he is an unbelievable player.
Yeah, you've always been a Chris Paul fan.
He's unbelievable. He's so good. Makes everybody around him that much better. I think Houston's going to be a really fun team to watch. But again, if Houston if Daryl Morey goes out and gets a third star, they're talking about that he's trying to get Paul George. I don't know with what assets he can go and get Paul George. But if he does, I mean, watch out for them to beat Golden State. That team would be ridiculously good.
Hold on. That's if you had Harden, Chris Paul. Who else were you saying?
Paul George.
And Paul George. All right. But as they're constructed now, can that Rockets team give the Warriors a problem?
I think they would give the Warriors a problem. I'm not saying they would beat them, but they would definitely give them a problem.
Okay. All right. Well, the balance of power has definitely shifted. And I look at him as the linchpin, one of these dominoes falling, just wondering if not re-signing Chris Paul could open up the possibility for LeBron James to come out in a year.
I don't see LeBron going to Houston.
No. I mean to the Clippers because they haven't signed
the Clippers are not going to wind up with Chris Paul. I mean with LeBron. LeBron is not going. You can end that talk right now about LeBron going to the Clippers
because
they lost Chris Paul.
Oh, that was his main draw to come out anyway. Was Chris Paul. All right, so
you're not going to see that one happen. Lakers are a possibility. I don't think LeBron goes to LA. I really think I really just don't see it happening. I'm not on LeBron to the LA bandwagon. I'm not saying this as a Cleveland fan. I'm saying this as someone who just doesn't see it. I don't see it happening, and I'm not a believer in it.
Okay.
I just don't get why he would leave Cleveland to go to L.A. They don't have any assets. Don't forget when he came to Cleveland, they already had Kyrie Irving. They had the number 1 overall pick in the draft in Andrew Wiggins. They had Dion Waiters. They had tradable guys, too, on the roster.
Tristan.
And tons of first-round picks. Along with Tristan Thompson, they had talent on the roster. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of movable assets in the future. Granted, they're all dried up now, but they were stockpiling picks like Boston.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they probably also had the assurance from Kevin Love that he was going to come out too, even if only verbally. I think that was a verbal agreement in advance.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Don't forget, the Cavaliers could have traded that number 1 overall pick for someone else as well.
Yeah, could have.
Someone else. Wiggins was that valuable. He would have some other team would have. Granted, do I think Wiggins is very good now? No, he's not. He hasn't lived up to the hype. I think also playing with a team with a bunch of young guys is very hard to develop, especially with bad culture for a team that hasn't made the playoffs in over 10 years.
10 years, man.
In over 10 years, I think it is. Minnesota's got. It's like this. They're like Sacramento. It's like you go there and there's bad culture, and nobody knows how to win. It's I think Jimmy Butler will help bring a winning culture, and if Minnesota goes out and signs Kyle Lowry, watch out for them in the West.
You think they're going to?
I think there's a possibility. I don't think there's a huge market for Kyle Lowry right now. Where does Kyle Lowry wind up? It's not going to be Houston.
Right.
I could see him re-signing in Toronto, but I could also see him leaving. Where else is there that has the cap space that needs a point guard? I think Minnesota ideally is the most logical fit for Kyle Lowry at this point.
Man, Jimmy Butler, do you think that played out the way that he's happy with? Because it seems like he had opportunities and he was nixing them, and then he just got dealt.
I don't think Butler's thrilled, and I think Chicago got ripped off in the trade. You essentially traded for a guy, and Chris Dunn, who I was never a fan of in the first place. I didn't understand the Chris Dunn hype to begin with. Never had. A senior point guard, I just didn't understand it. Number 2, Zach LaVine he's a 6th man, and he's injured. He might not even play this season.
That bad?
He's about to be due for a new contract. So you essentially swapped the 16th and the 7th pick, and you took Lauri Markkanen, who, as you know, I went to Arizona. I watched a lot of Arizona this year. Lauri Markkanen is a good player, but he failed to show up during the tournament. He wasn't very good. I don't get the Dirk comparisons other than he's a tall, foreign, white European guy who can shoot the 3-ball.
Wait, all of those things, but you don't get the comparison? You're just saying he has nowhere near the talent.
He's not the next Dirk Nowitzki. I don't see Lauri Markkanen having a Dirk-like career. I don't ever see that happening with him. I think he's a decent player, but I think you'll see him as a fringe starter. And I don't see him being a multi-time All-Star. Now, I could definitely be wrong, but I don't think I am.
Well,
the Bulls gave away Butler for pennies on the dollar. They didn't even get quarters.
Yeah, because we talked about that.
They got a dime, a piece, like a broken dollar bill. Well, I don't even want to say a broken dollar bill, like a melted quarter in Zach LaVine, and you swap the 16th and the 7th pick. You've got to be kidding me.
Are they going to gut the team? Or are they going to cut? Well, Dwayne Wade picked up his player option, so
but they're going to wind up buying out Wade. You'll watch up. I have a feeling you're going to see Wade in Cleveland.
So how would that work? Dwayne Wade signed for what, 25 mil, something like that?
$24 million. They're probably going to buy him out for 16 to 20, and then he'll walk. I don't think they want him going to Cleveland, but at the same time, Chicago's window's not in the next 2 to 3 years anyway, so let him walk.
And so then they're on the hook for 16, and then whoever signs him for whatever?
I tend to think you're going to see Wade and possibly Bosh/Melo wind up at the Cavs if Bosh gets medically cleared to play. This is something we went over, and then all of a sudden the media starts putting in last week. I mean, we discussed it before all the national headlines got to it. I remember that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something we discussed almost 2 weeks ago of this happening.
Yeah, and by the way, go check out the archives of the show. Subscribe, youtube.com/TheNewAmericanMedia, and take a look. All those shows are there for you to go back and reference. And leave your comments underneath as well. So as you listen to the show,
it's something that's a strong possibility that the Cavaliers wind up with both of them, or with 2 of the 3 guys. I tend to think one goes to Houston. If Bosh is able to play, watch for him to be in Cleveland with LeBron. I'm telling you, just with the way everything will play out, just watch for that to happen. And same with Wade. You know, one, it sticks it to Pat Riley, which they all want to do. You know, I think they all want to stick it to Pat Riley. I think number two, I think it counteracts Golden State.
Hold on. What was number two again?
So number two, I think it counteracts Golden State. You know, you're adding Wade, who's still a very good player at this point in his career. He's not going to need to play in 80 games or even 70 or 60. You know, and Chris Bosh, if he's healthy, is still a top 25 player in the league.
Especially if you get him at the right price and it doesn't cripple you to give up too many trade.
I don't think it's going to. He got bought out of Miami. I think he'd be fine.
Well, man, look, we need to do something. We got to bolster this roster because we just didn't have it last year.
They didn't.
You know, it was very deflating, very disappointing. It was a bit of a dud. Hey, speaking of disappointing and deflating duds, the New York Knicks have gone a different direction, and that is getting rid of the Zen Master. Talk about that.
If I'm them, my first phone call is to David Griffin or Trent Redden.
Oh, if you were running the Knicks.
Yeah.
You think they'd take it?
I don't know.
But you think that highly of what they were doing?
I think they're great. I think they're great. Trent Redden was with the Cavs for a long time. David Griffin did a hell of a job in Cleveland as well. I mean, if it's me, that's what I'm doing.
Hey, did you see a weird story with Dan Gilbert today?
With the Cubs?
Yeah. Was that a real story? I've been running around all day, and it scrolled on my timeline.
Yeah, he wasn't there for that, though. Dan Gilbert was there presenting to Trump about Cleveland and Detroit, and Trump called him in the middle. He wasn't there for the Cubs parade. He was actually just at the White House coincidentally at the same time.
Oh, so he was lobbying to get, like, investment dollars or...
he was trying to show how Detroit and Cleveland have been
bouncing back.
You know, revitalized the gentrification of both cities. And you know what? I think you know what? And I don't have a problem with them being there. It was just a weird scenario.
Yeah, okay, because I just saw the headline. I didn't have time to dig in. I'm like, oh no! This didn't really. Is this the Onion? Is this a real thing? Okay, so he just happened to be there anyway, and
yes,
the president called him in. All right. So sum up Phil Jackson's tenure with the Knicks. Sum up the experiment.
I mean, it was a massive failure. It was a massive, massive failure.
Was it just the whole strategy didn't work, or certain circumstances didn't work, or was just
Phil Jackson? I think he was just, you know, when he was a coach, you know, he used to get the best out of his players, but he used to challenge his players well. In the front office, you can't really do that. I mean, you pissed off Melo, you pissed off Kristaps Porzingis. You know, you didn't do a good job there. You pissed away your cap money on
Noah.
Yeah, I mean, on Joakim Noah, you know, you trade for Derrick Rose. I mean, I just don't get what he was doing there. It never really did anything special. And, you know, he just should not have been running a front office.
Yeah. I saw somebody post, it said it's funny how less successful he is when he doesn't have the most talented player of that generation on his team. You know, talking about Kobe or MJ. So, yeah, it's interesting. I
mean, Phil Jackson's old school. He doesn't really believe in the new school, you know, the new part of the game. He doesn't believe in the three-point shooting and the jump shooting. Well, look at the last 3 titles. Warriors, Cavs, Warriors. Teams that are great jump shooting teams that shoot the 3-ball better than anyone.
And then who won it the years before that? The Spurs, the Heat, the Mavericks. Trying to think backward here.
But the game has adapted.
Mm-hmm.
The game has adapted, so
and he stayed.
You know,
behind.
It's a 3 shooting league. It's a 3 shooting league now, and it's, you know, it's, you know, and that's just what it is.
What does it mean for Melo being released that Phil Jackson's gone? Does it make it more likely or less likely?
I'm not sure yet. I think it all depends who the general manager is.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not sure.
I don't think you're going to see anything happen now for a little while.
So is this a bad move if you're a Cleveland fan? You're upset to see Phil get canned? You would have liked to see him cut him?
Yeah, I would have. But, I mean, I think that's part of the reason. I think he just got – I think Phil Jackson was just in over his head.
That's possible. I mean, that happens to all of us. You know, we all go through that. What do you think? There's another stop for Phil Jackson, or do you think he's done?
He's done. He's done.
Okay. All right. Well, what are the next? Let's wrap this up then, because these are some of the major stories that have happened. What else should we be kind of keeping an eye on in the next week or so? What else do you think is going to happen before everything officially?
Something's going to happen with Gordon Hayward, Paul George, and Blake Griffin. You're going to see three big things. I mean, I don't know if Boston's going to wind up with any. I tend to think Boston winds up with Hayward. That's his most logical destination. I don't think they wind up with Paul George as well, but I do think they wind up with Gordon Hayward.
And what would that do to that team if they got him?
I think it makes them a better team. Again, I still don't think they're better than Cleveland.
Okay.
And I don't know, and Jason Tatum's a rookie. You need to compile your assets and move them for one big piece. We watch what Daryl Morey does in Houston. It's what Danny Ainge needs to do. Having a roster that's 12 deep of a bunch of decent players does not win you a championship. You need star power in the NBA in order to win. But look at all the champions over the last couple of years. Who does Golden State have? Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. Who does Cleveland have? Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James. Who did San Antonio have? Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, and Ginobili. Who did Miami have? Bosh, Wade, LeBron. You go back and with these super teams, and Danny Ainge knows better than anyone. He was the first one to have the big three in this era. You need star talent in order to win the title. It is just what it is. There's no way around it. You cannot just get there with decent players. Guys like Jay Crowder and Avery Bradley are good players. They're complementary pieces. They're not guys who are going to take you to the next level. They don't have a LeBron James. They have some very, very good pieces. But Al Horford and Isaiah Thomas are not going to win you a title. Is your two superstars. It's not going to happen.
All right. Well, then, I'm interested to see where Hayward ends up. That was a weird sentence to say. All right. Well, then, I'll tell you what. How about we kind of press pause for now? We got a lot of action. We've had a lot of movement. This was a big one. Chris Paul leaving. That's the end of an era.
I was pretty surprised, to tell you the truth. I was not shocked, but I was surprised.
I'm kind of surprised.
Daryl Morey's a wizard when it comes to free agency. He really is. And don't forget, he's a Clevelander.
Oh, okay.
Morey does a hell of a job at doing what he does. He's been the big analytics guy in the NBA since he took over in Houston. And he really has just done a hell of a job down there doing what he's been able to do. In his time frame, they've never picked higher than 12th in the draft. He's always managed to compile great trades where he knocks it out of the water. I mean, he's done a really, really good job there.
And Dwight Howard didn't really work out, but it didn't really.
No, but the Dwight experiment's over now. I mean, he's done.
Yeah.
So I mean, you replaced. You just added Chris Paul to a team that won over 50 games.
Well, let's see how they mesh. Let's see how it goes.
I tend to think they'll mesh pretty well. I think it allows Harden to slash again and play off the ball. I think Harden is best when he plays on the ball, but allows Chris Paul to play off the ball as well. I think both of them are very, very good together. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
All right. Well, we will keep our eyes on it. And by the way, keep your eyes on Zak on Twitter. He's at ZBaris. That's ZBaris. And I'll tell you what. How about we do this? We'll plan on talking again in a week. Unless there's breaking news, we'll text each other and try to do another impromptu show just like today. Does that work for you?
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right, buddy. You have a good evening. Go Cavs, go Indians, go Browns, go Buckeyes. And I'll talk to you in a few, okay?
Take care, Brian.
Later.